Welcome everyone. I am posting a short video to interest you in the social teachings of the Catholic Church. In his recent encyclical, Magnificat Humanitas, Pope Leo XIV invited us to rediscover the rich heritage of these teachings and to apply them to our age of rapid technological advancement. Using the metaphor of the intricate systems in a clock that work together to tell time, let's open the door into this exquisite world of Catholic social teaching. Why does the Church teach on social matters at all? You may be familiar with the parable of the Good Samaritan. Using the parable of the Samaritan who reached out to a traveler who was robbed and beaten and left for dead, Jesus taught that we are all each other's keeper. This embraces the whole person, body and soul, not just the soul. To evangelize and contribute in social matters is part of the Church's mission. Does this mean that the Church must support a certain party, a political party? No. Christian priorities in the social sphere are shaped ultimately by the gospel, not by partisan agendas. The laity who engage in temporal affairs have a decisive role. They are the primary carriers of social doctrine into the structures of society: family, workplace, economy, governance. John Paul II affirmed, "The guiding principle of all the Church's social doctrine is a correct view of the human person and of his or her unique value." We have just seen the Church's self-understanding of social engagement, and now we confront the reality of a broken world head-on. The interacting systems of human activity that make up society, I'm sure you will agree, in many places lack unity, are distorted and damaged. Social concern is not an optional extra for Christians, but really the touchstone of a disciple's life. It is where the tire meets the road. Compendium 528 states very clearly that separating religious knowledge from action is a failure of faith. Cultural and political engagement is an act of discipleship, not a distraction from spiritual life. In his recent encyclical, Magnificat Humanitas, Pope Leo states, "Social justice is characterized by the capacity of a social, economic, and political order to allow everyone to live a truly dignified life without leaving anyone behind." This is a strong statement, but the root of social disintegration is human arrogance that ignores and forgets the truth about creation, which, as St. Paul wrote, is written on the human heart. Creation is first and foremost a gift, not a resource to be exploited. Forgetting this truth leads to abuses that destroy human relationships, that destroy the ecosystem, the economy, and ultimately the entire fabric of society. Many communities and countries find themselves locked in cycles of poverty, underdevelopment, and crime. Humankind's relationship to creation is one of responsible care. A program that is respectful of the environment, the human environment, and also a natural environment, will not have the maximization of profits as its only objective. It will look rather at the bigger picture, the integrity of the natural order and the needs of future generations. Starting from creation as a gift, which we saw, let us now focus on the most core part of this gift, the dignity of the human person himself or herself. Christian anthropology asserts that the human person is a unified whole, comprising body and soul. God is the origin and destiny of human life. Man transcends the material world. His conscience is guided by the spiritual goods of the natural law that are universal and unchanging. Human dignity is not bestowed by worldly power, by wealth nor fame. It is the first principle of all political decision making. There are fundamental rights that flow from human dignity, such as the right to life, to form a family, and to participate in society. These rights are not concessions from power, but recognitions of what is already true about the human person, and which is written on our hearts. A crucial dimension of human dignity is work. Work is not merely economic output. It is a crucial dimension of human dignity. Through work, the church teaches, a person continues God's work of creation. He or she participates in the life of society and through the fulfillment of daily duties can grow in human and supernatural maturity. Building on human dignity, let us look at how the Church's teaching on work has developed. We will trace it across two landmark encyclicals, from Leo XIII's groundbreaking defense of workers' rights in 1891 to John Paul II's vision of work as participation in God's creative action in 1981. During these 90 years, we see a consistent yet deepening understanding. Labor or work is never merely a commodity. Workers were exploited in the frenetic pace of industrial production leading up to the 20th century. Pope Leo pointed out that sometimes less is more when the dignity of the human person is at stake. Almost a century later, with the temptation to reduce human development to scientific and technological progress, John Paul II reminded humanity that it is in the subjective and interpersonal dimension of human work where the most important aspects of human development takes place. This lineage reminds us that the gears of Catholic social teaching turn across generations each century, refining the same sacred truth. In the exercise of its teaching mission, the Church has specified core principles at the heart of its social doctrine, built around the dignity of the human person. What are the four main ones? Let us begin with the principle of the universal destination of goods. It states that the earth's resources and the fruits of human labor are intended to benefit all of humanity. Next, the notion of the common good that society works towards. It is the sum total of social conditions which allow people to reach their fulfillment. Third, the principle of subsidiarity. It states that decisions ought to be made at the most local level possible. Last but not least, solidarity, which is a firm and persevering determination to commit oneself to the common good. These principles, identified and sharpened over decades, now provide ready tools for critique and construction. Yet, applying universal principles to complex realities requires prudential judgment, room for discernment, and even disagreement among people of good faith. They function as an interlocking system, complementing each other and jointly driving society forward, much like underlying gears in a well-crafted clock mechanism. What happens when the principles that sustain social life are disengaged? Underdevelopment and poverty appear, not merely as an economic statistic, but as a solidarity deficit, a breakdown in the relationships that bind us together. When principles are neither taught, nor known, nor sufficiently put into practice, the vulnerable are left without the protection of a coherent moral framework. The staggering 847 million figure of people living in extreme poverty and the troubling trend in the MENAP regions give concrete urgency to the Church's call to combat structures that perpetuate underdevelopment. Saint Josemaria wrote, "Our Lord wants us Christians to seek to re-establish the broken order and to restore to temporal structures in every nation their natural function as instruments for the progress of humanity and their supernatural function as a means for reaching God for the redemption. Venit enim filius hominis salvare quod perierat." The Son of God came to save what was lost. If we wish to rebuild a broken world, we must be determined to renew solidarity on all levels of society based on core principles. In his recent encyclical Magnificat Humanitas, Pope Leo XIV affirmed, "True progress always stems from a heart open to others, an intelligence willing to listen, and a will that seeks what unites rather than what separates." This solidarity is not a passive sentiment. It extends bonds of true friendship to all and drives commitment to transforming social life in accord with the social teachings of the Church. Solidarity animates truth and justice, which seeks the cooperation of every component. From the broken pieces, a new civilization of love. Pope Francis presented solidarity as a radical disposition for Christians. "All are called to live as one," he wrote, "each taking care of the other. We are our brother's keeper." As we move toward our conclusion, the question becomes, will we become the hands that set this sacred mechanism in motion? Our task as Christians is clear. From the broken clock of a fractured world to the fully assembled timepiece of a civilization of love that turns on the gears of the established social teachings of the Church. Each aspect of these teachings is like a gear, we said. Self-understanding, creation, dignity, work, the core principles, the special role of solidarity or love. None of these function alone. So the question is, will we wind the clock? Will you be among the laity who take this living doctrinal patrimony and set it in motion in your families, workplaces, and communities? The gears are ready. They just need hands to move them.